Good morning, everyone. My name is Ajay. I'm a PGP1 student. I feel immense pleasure in extending a warm welcome to our guests from the industry, our respected faculty members, members of the press, and my student colleagues to SummIT 2012, the first IT conclave at TAPMI Management Institute. It is indeed a privilege for us to have eminent personalities coming down to our campus to interact with us, and I'm sure this event will prove to be beneficial to the corporate and the faculty alike. On behalf of the IT Forum at TAPMI, I also extend a warm welcome to our chief guest, Mr. Alexander Varghese, Vice President Corporate Services and Country Head of UST Global India. I now call upon our guest, and with that, I also request our Dean Administration, Professor Vasudev Rao, Professor Mohan Kumar, and Dr. Sridhar Aithal to inaugurate the conclave by lighting the lamp.
Ya kundendu tusharaharadavala, ya shubhravastravrita, ya veena varadandamanditaka, ya shweta padmasana, या ब्रह्माच्युत शंकर प्रभृतिभिः देवे सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा. The shloka means, O Goddess Saraswati, who is fair as a jasmine flower, the moon, or a snowflake, who is dressed in white and whose hands are adorned by the veena, who is seated in a white lotus, to whom Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara pray, please protect us.
Thank you, Sina. I now invite our chief guest, Mr. Alexander Varghese, and with that, I also invite Mr. Srini Govindaraju, Mr. Pratham Hegde, and our Dean Administration, Professor Vasudev Rao, to the stage. It is an honor to have such eminent guests who, despite their busy schedule, have taken time out to grace SummIT 2012 with their presence. We have with us today Mr. Alexander Varghese, who is also our chief guest, country head of UST Global India. We also have Mr. Srini Govindaraju, Senior Vice President, Listertech, Chennai. Mr. Pratham Hegde, Vice President, Genpec, Bengaluru, India. Few more guests would be joining us during the course of the day, including Mr. Vidyashankar, who is an IAS, and also Principal Secretary to the Government of Karnataka, Ministry of Industry and Commerce, and Ms. Purnima Shinoy, CEO and Founder, Latitude Systems, Bangalore. Now I request Divya to extend floral welcome to Mr. Alexander Varghese. And I request Mohi to extend welcome to Mr. Srini Govindaraju. I request Divya again to extend floral welcome to Mr. Pratham Hegde. Thank you, Divya and Mohi. I now invite Professor Mohan Kumar to introduce SummIT 2012.
Good morning to all of you. I have great pleasure in being the introductory person to introduce this SummIT IT 2012 on this occasion because there are a few background things I would like to suggest. One is that TAPMI would be completing its first 3 decades very soon, 2014. It will be completing its 30 years. And in this short span, of course, it's a long span for an individual, but an organization like TAPMI, it's a very short span. It has grown and stood out as a premier institute in India, delivering one of the best management education with well-known academic rigor that is appreciated all around. Now, there is no profitable business today in the world that has not been impacted in a positive way by the achievements and facilitations that information technology has provided. IT has become a vital part of the world scene, whether it's in the private sector or in the public sector business. So in that context, no longer is IT viewed as a mere enabler or a support function in organizations. It is much more like a driver of business today. At least in many of the great or world-class organizations, business organizations of the world, IT has moved to the boardroom from where it was, that is in the data center, which it used to be. In TAPMI, the IT area has not been very large, or it has been fairly small, I would say. And over the years, it has taken a lot of small as well as some big steps in defining, designing, and deploying or developing the IT curriculum for MBA, as well as various courses and revamping of the courses. This has happened over the last decades. But the notion and the spirit with which it was done was as an enabler of the business world. But I would like to suggest, or I am promising that we have realized and we are slowly moving towards the realization that IT has to be looked at as a driver of business, and we need to reinvent ourselves in terms of the MBA curriculum, in terms of IT. So via SummIT IT 2012, what we are intending or hoping to achieve is take a first step or a few first steps towards a scenario where the IT part will be taken as a driver of business rather than enabler, and also pave the way for providing the right place for IT in business education. I like to quote the TAPMI's mission statement for the benefit of our guests. TAPMI mission statement states, "We are committed to excellence in postgraduate management education, research and practice by nurturing and developing global wealth creators and leaders. We shall continually benchmark ourselves against the best-in-class institutions. We shall foster continuous learning and reflection, achievement orientation, creative independence, and respect for diversity, with a holistic concern for ethics, environment, and society." It's a very fairly all-encompassing type of mission statement. But what I would like to say is that keeping in tune or keeping mind the mission statement of TAPMI, the emphasis it places on research, continuous learning, and reflection and achievement orientation, we in the IT area would like to focus our attention in designing, delivering, and revamping of our courses by keeping the community of students, faculty, as well as the industry practitioners in the loop, and trying to come up with a learning which is more innovative, productive, and purposive. So in the context of SummIT IT, which is a new name that we have given for the first ever IT conclave of this nature in TAPMI for at least for the last 10, 12 years. This is being inaugurated today, and I'm very happy, and we are all on behalf of students who have really put in a lot of efforts, and their continuous work has produced this thing. I would like to be, I'll be very happy to share our vision of the IT area, and I'm very happy that we have very, great representatives of the practitioners here, including one of our own, that is, a faculty, an alumnus who passed out in 2001, and I'm sure that, it makes us proud to be having him also among the industry practitioners. So with that, I would like to, briefly conclude, and I welcome all of you to this conclave. And after the inaugural, which will be over at 10:30, we'll have separate tracks in which there are different topics on which various invited experts will be speaking on. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. I feel pleasure in introducing our chief guest, Mr. Alexander Varghese, who is the country head and vice president, corporate services, heading UST's Global Delivery Center across the globe. Mr. Varghese has over 26 years of work experience in the IT industry, managing global clients and operations of various IT service companies in North America and Asia Pacific. Before joining UST, he acted as vice president and director for various successful IT consulting companies in USA, Japan, Australia, Europe, and India. He also has considerable experience in setting up offshore development center, mergers, and acquisitions. I now invite our chief guest, Mr. Alexander Varghese, to address us.
So, good morning, all of you. Extremely happy to be here today and very delighted, and also wanted to thank you for inviting me to be part of you in this prestigious organization. I never been to Manipal in my career, in my lifetime. This is the first time, beautiful place, lovely campus. I wanted to congratulate you for, I heard that you're going to be celebrating 3 decades of our success. Congratulations to all of you. When Professor Aikal contacted me a month ago to come and interact with you, I asked him, what is the outcome of this? Who are all going to be my audience? And he said, the audience are going to be one of the best and the brightest people in India. So I didn't want to say no, because I seldom get opportunities to interact with the people like you. More to share my experience in the last couple of decades with all of you, more than to learn from you what together we can do for the country and for the IT industry. So I thought about it, what could be a good way of interacting with you. I thought maybe I could talk about some of the fundamentals of leadership, which I'm sure that we must be reading from a lot of books these days, right? Then I thought maybe it makes sense to share my experience in my association with a few organizations in the recent past. And I'll be sharing some of the things that we went through as a company and what we did to be a leader in the IT services space. Some of them probably will be a thought-provoking thing for you. You may not have experience or good exposure to those things. But I really like to focus on is how you can be a differentiator in the marketplace, whether you are a provider or you are a beneficiary. And I also would like to probably leave the second half of the session to be as interactive as possible so that we can mutually enrich our wisdom. So with that saying, I just wanted to set the context for my conversation. I also wanted to introduce my company to you. You take this company aspect of it, I'm just setting the context to share the experience that I had with the company. How many of you here had heard about a company called UST Global? Very few. One of the fastest growing IT services company. We actually figured in the Gartner's Magic Quadrant 3 years in succession. If you look at the revenue per customer, we are number 2 globally. And when we interacted with some of the analyst community a couple of years back, this is what exactly was the reaction. In fact, Stephanie Moore, she was the Senior Vice President for Forest Research, came on an expedition to India. She happened to come to our facility in Trivandrum, and she went back, and when she put his trip report on the website, the caption of the trip report was "Not the usual suspects." And Partha Iyengar, head of Gardner India, came to Trivandrum, spent a couple of days with us. He went back and put his trip report on the website, saying that one of the best companies which nobody had heard of. So it was by design. And when you say by design, what was the rationale for that? A small company started in 1999 with 14 people in a small conference room with one laptop and no projects. 13 years later, we are 9,000 plus globally, with all the credentials that I shared with you, meeting all the tier ones in the corridor of the Fortune 500 and Global 1000 companies every day. Beating the mind share of the Fortune 500 and Global 1000 companies worldwide. Something has to work. We did something very differently, and I hope that will be an inspiration to all of you. Just to give a quick snapshot, we are part of a larger group called the Conclave. It's a, I mean, the day I joined, it used to be 6 billion. I'm sure that it will be much, much more than this. They're based out of Geneva, and very, very, very interesting group. They let you operate by yourself, and I heard the same message from your group as well. The management don't get involved in the day-to-day things, and they have 250 companies worldwide, and we have not tapped any of their internal business so far. So that gives you a sense of their transparency and involvement in a day-to-day basis. We're primarily focusing in the IT services and BPO space, BPO being very, very small as an extended service to our IT services customers. Focusing on 5 verticals at this point in time: media, healthcare, manufacturing, BFSI, and media and entertainment. Grown phenomenally well, over 9,000 people. We are into 20 countries, 4 development centers in India, over 6,200 people in India. The 5th development center in Philippines, Manila. 3 development centers in North America, and the latest one being the one in Leon, Mexico. I just also wanted to take you to the history of the outsourcing industry. And then when I looked at the theme for today, conquering new heights in IT, I think it's very, very relevant in the current context. We are at an inflection point. And you will understand when you actually go through the evolution of the IT services industry. And 70s, the TCS along with the National Informatics Center started something very small. And the 18s, you see some of the tier 1 companies like the Infosys and Wipro starting, and our export was 4 million those days. In the 90s is the time, you probably see some of the flagship companies which are doing very good business now, like the iGate and the Syntel and the Mastech and the CGIs of the world, leveraging some of the Y2K opportunity at that point in time and going public after that, then and widening their service offerings. And going beyond 2000, India being considered as a place for cost arbitrage, talent, and so on and so forth. And again, if you look at the reason why we are being considered as a potential provider of those services. Early in the game, India being looked upon as a country where there is a cost arbitrage. Customers started sending their work, which are not very mission critical, probably in the application maintenance and those kind of services. The cost of operations have gone up significantly. And you all know that the salary costs have gone up significantly. So today I don't believe that India is being looked upon as a country from a cost arbitrage perspective. I'm sure that Pradham probably will agree to that. But we are all lucky that we've been able to instill the confidence in the minds of the customers, and we were able to go significantly in the value chain doing high-end works, which kind of keep the sustainability of the model. But when I talked about we are at an inflection point, of late, we've been going through a lot of challenges. Challenges in terms of attrition, increased demand in certain types of skills, imbalances in salary structure, people moving from one organization to another organization, in our inability to manage 24/7 some of the mission critical applications, and inflation. I talked about this. It's no more a sustainable model, and